was the thought process behind Jamie doing the first kickoff and then Graham doing the other ones?
Yeah, so Jamie showed us that he could have some flex to be able to punt and kick off throughout the offseason. And I think it's valuable whenever you have a guy that has the ability to do more than just one thing, especially when it comes to punters. You know, the more flex that position specifically has, the more valuable he is on the roster. So I have two guys back there that know how to be able to place it all over the place, and that's something that, you know, we'll always look for to use.
So they could both keep doing it?
Yeah, they very well could both be up every game.
What about the use of Wandale on kickoff returns? That's not something we've seen.
Yeah, you know, he did it in college, and he has a special skill set, obviously, with his speed, his toughness, his communication, and he has some definite conviction. I believe that, you know, when he has the ball in his hand, he has the ability to hit the home run ball consistently. And any chance you have to put the ball in a playmaker's hands, you're going to try and do so. We got to do a little bit better job blocking, but you see that there's creases for him to hit, and he's willing to do so.
Back to Graham and Jamie just for a second. I know they can both do it. Is it strategic? I don't expect you to tell us what you're looking for, but is it also, you know, it's not just, okay, we're going to throw this guy out there. I mean, I would imagine they can do it differently, or they have different strengths as far as a kickoff.
You know, it's pretty surprising that, you know, they both have the ability to do everything that the other person does. And obviously one is a righty and one is a lefty, but in terms of being able to put the ball all over the place, they both can do it. And sometimes it's a feel thing. Who's feeling it right now? Who's gotten a lot of rhythm in the game? So it sometimes could be scheme. It could be sometimes based off of feel.
We've never seen it though. What made you land on doing that?
It was just throughout the offseason, Jamie showing us the ability that he can. And for me, like a guy that, like I said, has the ability to do it and could stay fresh throughout the game, I think that also allows him to stay warm during the game. You know, there's going to be some games where he won't punt at all. There's going to be games where he'll have to punt. And just the whole aspect of keeping him warm, keeping him in the game, I think is something to be said about that.
How much did you have to politic to get Abdul on your punt block team? And is it technically a punt block team, or is it a one-man punt block team? Everybody else is doing whatever they need to do.
I'll start off by saying I'm glad he's on our team. He's got a special skill set, as we all know. And the speed you see with him coming off the ball as a defense player and rushing punts, he has that ability. And then I think above all that, I believe above all that, he truly wants to do it. And he is a student of the game and wants to continue to study. We'll always take a common sense approach depending on volume, depending on week to week, whether we can see him doing it or not. But he definitely has a skill set to do it, and it was cool to see him have success pretty early on in his career.
I mean, how rare is it when you can, you know, normally when we see a team call punt block, you know, we used to seeing what you know, you see guys are loading the box. It really just seemed like it was almost like, all right, Abdul, your job is to go block the punt, and everybody else was carrying on. Is that not the way it was?
You know, the thing with him is, I think his superpower obviously is his ability to go and get the ball, whether that be a quarterback, whether that be the punter punting it. But he is a special athlete. He was a former receiver. So he does a good job in coverage. He does a good job in staying in phase with people if he was going to hold somebody up. And he has that versatility. The cool thing about him is you can ask him to do a lot, and the athletic traits show up in whatever you ask him to do. So his versatility, to me, is very valuable on that unit because he has to be able to do everything that we're asking the other guys to do. Just one of those seems to stand out a little bit more, but he does have the ability to do everything.
How and when did that become an idea? Does it date back to the pre-draft process, or is it something like, you know, you were able to sort of convince them, or did they come? You know, did Dave's come to you and say, "I want to use him here"?
Yeah, you know, throughout the offseason, you just see across the league, there's certain players that are on those units at times. Myles Garrett, EJ Speed, you know, guys that when they're rushing punts or holding you up or bullying you back, they make you think on punt, like, how should we stop this? So, you know, obviously when I'm evaluating these guys coming out of college and you see the get off, you see the ability to bend, you're like, okay, if I'm able to use them, this guy can do that. The one thing that was eye-opening to me is not necessarily the want to, but his ability to do other things on that unit and other units.
The same idea with Burns. He was out there for one also, right?
Yeah, you talk about two unselfish teammates, and the nature of any special teams play, it could change the momentum of a game. And when you have players that want to do that, it speaks volumes to who they are as people and competitors. And I'm fortunate as a coach that I have players on our roster that truly love football.
Abdul had said afterwards, like, I had asked him just the idea of, are you just doing it based on your athleticism? And he said no. He said, I'm studying it. I really am looking at technique. How much have you seen him work on that? How much have you guys worked on that? And then it's not just Abdul being Abdul, it's also Abdul studying that position and what it takes to block upon it.
In this league, there's a lot of skilled football players. Now, Abdul, we believe, is truly skilled. But you can't get away with skill alone. There is a preparation process that requires these players to be able to play fast, and that is practice habits that's in the meeting room, that's in the playbook, and Abdul embodies all those things. He takes all those to heart because he knows all those contribute to his ability to have success on that unit. And I believe success is no accident. He truly showed up doing what he was trained to do, and that's pretty cool as a rookie that a player can show up his very first NFL game in the regular season and trust his preparation and see that come out with success.
Coach, what about Graham? He hit for 55 yards the other day. He's had a couple of injury-plagued years, but we haven't seen him hit the ball like this in quite a while. Is it just health, or is there something about his preparation that helps him?
Yeah, I've said this before. He had a tremendous offseason. He was able to truly, work on his craft throughout the whole offseason, which I think helped him go into training camp with a lot of confidence. And also, you just learn from year to year. When you do have an injury, you start to evaluate everything that's part of your process. And you see little things that you could potentially tweak to make you the best football player on game day. Those are all things that, I believe that he held true to his heart. He looked at it, we studied it together, and he was able to, come up with a good plan from week to week. And it's cool to see him have success. Now, that being said, like with Abdul, with Graham, the beauty about the National Football League is you got to show up every week. And this week we have a tremendous challenge with the Dallas Cowboys, obviously with Cavante Turpin being the best returner in the National Football League. And you have Brandon Aubrey that is basically in field goal range once he gets to the logo. So those two players I truly believe are impact players on the roster. And then you see other players on the roster show up as well, that we have to make sure we show up this game and handle our business.
We'll take two more. That stadium, obviously, we've seen in the past. The games are usually, the 4 o'clock kickoffs or the 3 o'clock kickoffs there. You guys are early this year. I'm curious. I know a lot was made last year of the sunlight and the way things came in. Is that something that you've had to kind of research for an early game in that stadium and what it's going to be like for your units, especially, as the game goes on?
Yes, absolutely. We always look at every stadium, even our home stadium, at the beginning of the week, in the middle of the week, at the end of the week, and see kind of how that's going to transform. And whether it's indoors, outdoors, we do our process to truly not make it a surprise come game day. Now, that being said, we'll walk out there pregame, we'll take a look at everything, we'll see what could potentially be an issue, no different than any other stadium, and we'll move forward from that.
Last one.
How unique is obviously Graham is on a different work program. He's kind of said some stuff like that in regards to when he kicks, when he doesn't. How unique is that, or have you had kickers who have done this before of when they kick and how much they kick, and kind of saving his leg or making sure he's healthy?
No, so that's not unique. I think every kicker I've been around doesn't kick every single day of the week. If they do kickoffs and field goals, or even punts for that matter, if you do all three consistently, it's equivalent of running a marathon. So you have to give those guys their rest. Now, sometimes on the rest days, they're doing muscle memory, dry swings, or they are going through the rhythm of aligning on a hash and working their steps, seeing their angles. But every kicker I've been around, regardless of the National Football League, college, has kicked 2 to 3 times a week, and that's pretty consistent. You know, obviously with what we have here and everywhere else I've been.